Hey, Skift listeners, hear about the latest trends in the travel industry with the Brand USA Talks Travel podcast. Right now, listen to special live from IPW interviews featuring U.S. Travel's Jeff Freeman.
DMOs are at the heartbeat of U.S. travel.
Liz Bittner from Travel South.
A lot of key gateway markets are back.
LA Tourism's Adam Burke.
We all win when we all partner together.
Plus, Brand USA's Stacey Melman and Jackie Ennis with international travel trends and Chris Thompson's farewell finale. I'm Mark Lapidus. Join us for Brand USA Talks Travel on your favorite podcast platform.
Brand USA Talks Travel.
You're listening to the Skift Podcast. Continuing our series on Skift's Megatrends for 2024, today we feature a conversation focused on developments reshaping India, the Middle East, and, by extension, the whole of the global travel business. Up for discussion are megatrends on the growing Indian middle class, a potential short-term rental boom in the Middle East, and whether Made in Dubai will be the next global brand. To explore these topics, Skift Editor-in-Chief Sarah Kopit is joined by two members of Skift's editorial team well-versed in these regions: India-based Asia editor Peden Bhutia and Dubai-based Middle East reporter Josh Corder. You can see all of Skift's megatrends for 2024 right now at skift.com/megatrends. Enjoy the conversation.
Each fall, as the new year approaches, the Skift editorial team gets together and talks about the big themes of the year to come.
This is tens of thousands of hours of talking to you, people in the travel industry through the year, coming up with the stories, research reports, our events, etc., and then us connecting the dots across all of those headlines.
Over a period of months, we boil them down, and eventually we get to this list that become our megatrends. Nature's wrath by way of climate change.
The long-term opportunity that hotel groups have in appealing to the middle class.
The role that travel can play in solving this crisis of loneliness that we're seeing.
Corporate greed and junk fees.
Is the travel industry ready for it? Has anybody thought about it?
We are on a mission to help you make sense of the year to come. So here's our take on the travel sector, 2024 style.
Okay, let's get started.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third in our Megatrends podcast series. Today, I am joined by my two esteemed colleagues, and we are going to be talking about the Indian middle class, the short-term rental boom in the Middle East, and what is going on in Dubai. So, Josh, Peden, why don't you introduce yourself, say hello, and tell us a little bit about the megatrends that you worked on. Josh, let's start with you.
Thanks, Sarah. Happy to be here and to chat with the two of you. So I'm the Middle East reporter for Skift, based in Dubai. Currently, Skift's first and only employee in Dubai. So you guys took the bet on moving over here, and it's been working so far. So yeah, the megatrends that I worked on, one was the idea of Dubai as a city becoming its own brand, like how New York is a brand or Paris is a brand, and with that they have sort of companies associated with that. So we're going to see Dubai companies move overseas and export that Dubai tourism brand into other markets is one thing. And then the other megatrend that I helped work on with Peden, who led it, was this idea of a short-term rental boom in the Middle East, which she will talk further about, which is the idea that there's so much chatter about tourism targets over here, but where does the rubber hit the road? And really, it's going to be through short-term rentals.
Yeah, great, awesome. And Peden.
Hi, I'm Peden. I'm the Asia editor for Skift, and I am based in India. I worked on two megatrends. One was about the rising middle class in India. So last year, our megatrend was that India is going to be the new China.
So one of our megatrends was this idea of, India comes of age, India becomes the new China.
I read that India was going to overtake China sometime in April this year as the most populous nation. And coming from India and having read about this for years, For some reason, in my mind, this was 15 years in the future. I think one of the first reactions was, wow, this happened this quickly. And what happened was that China's population fell off a cliff in the last 10 years, dramatically. And so what was going to happen much, much later, in the 30s and the 40s, 20s, 30s and 40s, got pulled into the 20s. And there's so many implications for what this means for the travel industry.
We had predicted that India would be, the new source market for outbound travel, and which did happen for many countries, especially Southeast Asia, within Asia. And to explain that who is going to fuel this outbound travel, it's going to be the Indian middle class.
Yeah, so let's kind of do a little bit of a deeper dive into that. Why don't you tell us, give us the thesis basically of your megatrend?
There was a prediction that India's population was going to surpass China very soon, but that happened last year itself in 2023. And when it comes to the population, the middle class is going to witness a surge as far as the population is concerned. And they are the ones with disposable income in their hands, and they are the ones who want to experience more. They're the ones who've, they've understood from COVID that the concept of YOLO, you only live once. So they want to experience it, and how best to experience anything, they need to travel. And they are traveling, whether it is, if you see domestic tourism in India there's been a huge boom. Of course, you can see that, the Indian Airlines, the aircraft orders that they have, some of the most historic aircraft orders, because they know that everybody in India wants to travel. And when it comes to outbound travel as well, outbound travel is extremely aspirational in India. And of course, less than 10% of the population owns a passport right now. But, the government is also trying to facilitate easy procurement of passports. Earlier, it was a very tedious process getting a passport or renewing a passport. But they're trying to do that so that it fuels the outbound surge. And we have seen that it has started happening ever since COVID. I think people are traveling more. India is a source market, top source market for many countries, and it will only continue to grow.
And so we did another one of our megatrends that our hospitality editor, Sean, wrote, was just about, the rise of the middle class traveler in general. Right. So how are the travel companies kind of across the board in all sectors capitalizing on the India market and their middle class? I mean, we talked a little bit about how, they're young, they're rich, and they want to travel. I mean, that's like the golden ticket, right, for travel companies. So what are the companies themselves really doing to take advantage of this?
Sarah, for one, they have understood that there are these cultural touch points as far as the middle class or the Indian population is concerned. And travel companies are making travel, like I said, is aspirational. And who better than our film stars to send across that message? Dubai did that, and they did that fantastically well with Shah Rukh Khan, who's the biggest, who's a mega star, superstar, not just in India, but the subcontinent, and I would say even Asia as well.
And cut! Great job, Shah Rukh. Was it good?
Yeah, I watched that a couple of times. It's such a good, it's like a music video.
Correct. Yeah. It's like a mini movie.
Have a long day.
How boring, Dad. You're in Dubai. Walk around, have fun.
That sounds like a good idea.
So, Dubai did that with Shah Rukh Khan, and then they realized that, now there is a younger crop of actors. So Abu Dhabi is doing that with Ranveer Singh. Ranveer Singh was, earlier he was with, even Switzerland Tourism had chosen him as their brand ambassador. And then there is, Qatar Airways tapping Deepika Padukone, Accor collaborating with Katrina Kaif. So they've understood that in India, what sells is movies and cricket. So travel companies are trying to tap the people from these sectors to show how aspirational travel is. Another interesting thing that I realized is Indians love to bargain. I wouldn't say that they're cheap, but they want bang for their buck. They don't mind spending $10,000 on something, but they need to know that they need to see value in it. So of course they'll try to get the best deal out. But one thing that's really picked up is this travel now, pay later scheme. And when I spoke to these people, Sam Cash, they told me about the fact that because of this, a person who had a budget for Goa, which is a domestic beach destination in India, is actually going to Thailand because now they have the option to travel now and then pay later, so they can pay in installments. And of course, traveling in business class is extremely aspirational. So a person with that option, somebody who was going to travel in economy, is now traveling to premium economy or business class.
Is that a recipe for disaster, really? I mean, this is like, the credit market we're talking about here. Is that going to ultimately be a bad thing?
I did ask them that about the fact that, but they said that they've been doing this for quite some time now, and their default list is less than 1%. That's what they told me.
It's impressive.
That also shows that, they do not mind spending on travel.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about Shah Rukh Khan and Dubai here. Let's get Josh in. This was really the bridge between these two megatrends that I really saw. So we've got, the biggest movie star in the world, biggest star in India, doing this little mini movie teaser for Dubai.
Still shooting, Dad?
No, darling. I'm back home now.
How was your day? Did you have some fun?
Thanks to you. I had the best day of my life.
Tell us a little bit about what Dubai is doing to become a brand in and of itself. I'm here in the United States, so I always think of, the Made in the USA brand being so strong. That was in the 80s and 90s.
American-made fashion, it matters to me.
But, let's talk about Made in Dubai or Dubai as a city where you live. What's going on there?
Made in Dubai. Well, something I can tell everyone about Dubai is they're very much all about image. So if we're talking here saying they already have their own brand, they'll be over the moon with that sentiment. Just adding something on the Bollywood actors coming in. One particular thing that was interesting about the incident you're talking about is not only did he promote Dubai, but he specifically promoted Dubai-owned and operated hotels. It wasn't Marriott's or Hilton's he was prancing around. It was Emaar Hotels, which is Dubai owned by an Emirati billionaire. So even then, if you want to go to the hotels that this mega star was going to, naturally, whether you realize it or not, you're putting money back into the Dubai's pocket rather than Marriott's pocket, let's say. And this is something Dubai has increasingly focused on. It used to be, back in the day, we struck oil, we have money now, please come and build the biggest JW hotel possible. We don't care what it costs, we don't care how tall it is, make it the tallest, make it the biggest. And they did that for many years, and it got them pretty far as a glamorous 5-star shopping destination. Anything is possible, everything at your fingertip. These days, Dubai has matured a bit more, and they now have their own image and their own brand to play with. They don't necessarily need the Marriotts or the Accors. They have Emirates Airline. It's a huge success. They have Jumeirah Hotels. Jumeirah Hotels has been a huge success in Dubai. They have Atlantis, which is one of the biggest integrated resort brands in the world. I would say it's on par with the ones you see in Las Vegas. Palm Jumeirah is so famous now. Beyonce was here start of last year, and I did a lot for Dubai. So if Dubai now says, we want to bring another Atlantis to another location, people are they're gonna flock to it. They're gonna think, oh, this is the Beyonce-backed super hotel. I want to go see what it's about. And they go there, and then they go, this is crazy. I now want to fly back to Dubai and experience the, quote unquote, original. So that's the cycle that Dubai has gone through. They started by importing brands, and they're getting to a point now where they're capable of exporting brands.
Hey, Skift listeners, hear about the latest trends in the travel industry with the Brand USA Talks Travel podcast. Right now, listen to special live from IPW interviews featuring U.S. Travel's Jeff Freeman.
DMOs are at the heartbeat of U.S. travel.
Liz Bittner from Travel South.
A lot of key gateway markets are back.
LA Tourism's Adam Burke.
We all win when we all partner together.
Plus, Brand USA's Stacey Melman and Jackie Ennis with international travel trends and Chris Thompson's farewell finale. I'm Mark Lapidus. Join us for Brand USA Talks Travel on your favorite podcast platform.
Brand USA Talks Travel.
So if India is about movies and cricket, what's Dubai about?
Well, everyone says shopping and eating, but in terms of what makes the Dubai populace tick, what is the image they want to be known for? Dubai is very much the idea of you can do anything and you can be surrounded by anybody here. It's such a multicultural destination. Basically, every nationality lives here.
Please welcome CEO of Dubai Corporation for Tourism and Commerce Marketing, Issam Abdul Rahim Qasim, and Skift founder and CEO, Rafid Ali.
Once we got the spotlight, we started to highlight all of the beautiful things that are happening in here. Namely, the fact that we have 200 nationalities that have chosen Dubai to be home, right? And they make up about 90% of the population. And for us, that is the organic, true magic of the city of Dubai, right? Where families now relocating here because they're saying, this is where I want to raise my kids because I know that they'll become global citizens when they leave.
Well, it wants to be, the next great cosmopolitan melting pot.
It sounds like you're describing New York City, actually.
Well, thankfully, it's not quite as busy as New York City yet, but they're not going to stop until it is.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I was going to say, we were just there for Skift's Global Forum East in Dubai, and I have a 12-year-old son who loves cars. And I was thinking, if Dubai is shopping and cars, I sent him a row of supercars parked at the hotel where we were having our event, and he listed probably 14 of the I don't even know how to describe them, the most glorious vehicles that exist on the planet. So yeah, that's neither here nor there. So if we've got luxury in Dubai and we've got, the Middle East, when I think about hospitality and, hotels in the Middle East, I automatically do think of luxury. Just like Josh, you were saying, it's all about image, it's about shopping, it's about supercars. And so we've got all of this inventory that is high end, super luxury. I know that Saudi, Oman, the UAE, they've got massive tourism projections in the near term for how many people they want to bring into their countries to visit and be tourists. Then we've got all these luxury hotels. That's great. Wonderful. But we just talked about the middle class, and that was a few of our megatrends, not only the Indian middle class, but just hotels and middle class travelers writ large. I think our last megatrend segues nicely here, where we talked about how there's a gap. There's a need for a budget alternative, and that is where the short-term rental comes in. So, Peden, why don't you take us through a little bit of how you and Josh are thinking about how the short-term rental boom fits into kind of this broader hospitality scheme in the Middle East.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah, of course, we know that, even though Saudi Arabia received a little less than 17 million visitors in 2022, the 2023 figures are not yet in. But it will be nowhere near their target of 2030, which is about 150 million. Even UAE has very ambitious targets, 40 million guests by 2031, Oman too. But we know that the average tourist spend per visit in these countries is well below the 5-star rates. In the megatrend we've mentioned, it was about $2,000, a little more than $2,000 for UAE. $1,400, around $1,400 in Saudi. So there is a clear need for budget alternatives. That's where the short-term rentals will come in, and of course, these countries, all the Emirates in the UAE, Saudi Arabia, in fact, opened the country to short-term rentals, so that residents could open their houses to tourists. So because they clearly realize that the rooms in the hotels will not be enough. Of course, they have the best, they have the 7 stars, they have the Amans, and they have all these 4 seasons and luxury properties. But not everyone will be traveling. And of course, people, with these ambitious tourism targets, they know that the majority of the tourists will be coming from countries like India and China. And in India, of course, like I said, people look at value. And, when the middle class comes out to travel, they will not be staying at a hotel that charges them around $2,000 per night. For all you know, that might be the budget for their trip. So they would be looking for budget-friendly alternatives. And that's where short-term rentals will come in. And that's evident by the new laws.
In any of these countries with, the short-term rental phase in, I mean, it hasn't exactly been smooth everywhere. It's kind of a newish class of property that, it takes a bit of sharing, I suppose, to make it work.
Yes, and Sarah, it's very new. Right now, the laws are just being formed. Like in January 2023, Saudi Arabia approved this bylaw to allow its citizens to, host and offer short-term rentals. And the same, I mean, like last year, we heard a lot of stories coming in about these Emirates, whether it's Sharjah, whether it's Ajman, allowing short-term rentals. So we will have to see how it's put into place and I think that is when we will understand the challenges. For now, it's just they're putting the law in place so that they can open their doors to more tourists.
What's the reaction been thus far with kind of like the initial pilot program?
I spoke to quite a few. I spoke to a few companies that are currently focusing in the Middle East. In fact, Silk House, which was one of the companies that I spoke to, short-term rental companies that I spoke to, they recently got a funding as well, and they are clearly looking at they're Dubai based, but they've grown, they're expanding to Abu Dhabi as well, and they're looking at Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, in a big way. And that's what they, when I spoke to them, that's what they also said, that we understand that there is a huge need in the market, and they want to make the most of it, and of course everyone wants to have the first mover advantage there.
Josh, what's the short-term rental market like in Dubai?
Dubai is big. It's really big, and it's a direct partnership with Dubai Tourism, so it's basically under government watch. And something Dubai Tourism use their short-term rental market for. By the way, for Airbnb, Dubai is one of their most profitable cities. But something Dubai Tourism uses Airbnb for is for this idea of having people extended stay in Dubai. Obviously, you can't afford to stay in a hotel for 30 nights at a time, but you can afford to stay in an Airbnb for 30, 60 nights at a time. And they use that to push their remote working scheme, the idea of come work in Dubai but be a citizen to another country. They use it to push the idea of come live in Dubai, come get a visa here, come settle down here. So Dubai has done a very interesting thing with their short-term rental market, is they basically use it as a vehicle to convert their tourists into residents, which is quite interesting.
Because nobody becomes a Dubaian, in essence. They maintain the original identity and they celebrate the original identity with one another.
Do you care in terms of them not having like the Dubai, they don't identify as Dubaian, but a global citizen?
See, for me, that's the beauty of having the other 6 Emirates with us as well. So you have a UAE story, but then this separates Dubai a little bit because it gives us that little bit of a, I would say, a different angle, right? where it becomes that cosmopolitan city, that multinational city that people call home.
Huh. It's not something many countries would want, I guess. I dare to say that wouldn't be the goal. But it's interesting that that's what Dubai wants.
Sarah, that's interesting that Josh mentioned about it, because Dubai introduced something called the Golden Visa, which comes with a 5-year and a 10-year residency. So these golden visas are mostly. So last year, when they were doing the numbers, when they were showing the numbers for tourist arrivals, Russians were one of the biggest source market for Dubai. But then slowly the numbers went down. And when the numbers went down, it was like, it wasn't that, less Russians were visiting Dubai, but it's just that some of them had converted into residents.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
There were less tourists, but there were more Russians coming in as residents. And they've also eased the visa norms for golden visas.
Interesting. Do you think that has anything to do with the war? Like that's why people were coming?
Yes, because of course there was sanction hit, and UAE was one of the few countries that opened to Russians. That is why, if you see countries like Maldives, countries like Thailand, you see, Maldives, the number one source market right now in January is Russia.
And so do you think that the short-term rental boom in the Middle East, do you think it will carry on for, like, it's a long-term operation, or do you think that it's going to be kind of a sudden burst and then taper off?
I guess it will have to be, because if they have these ambitious tourism numbers, to accommodate 150 million tourists, you clearly do not have enough hotels. And I don't think they can come up with hotels so soon. So, and 2030 is not very far off.
No, amazingly not, right? It sounds like it, but it'll be here in the blink of an eye.
Can I add something to that, Sarah?
Of course.
When we talk about this idea that the Middle East is building too many hotels and not enough short-term rentals, which is naturally true, but then you ask, okay, why are they building so many hotels and not enough short-term rentals? It's because in Saudi Arabia, which is the prime example, Saudi Arabia, Qatar and Oman, all to varying degrees, are all trying to very much boost their international image. Saudi Arabia the most, of course. And to boost your international image, to get tourists in, you need to be discovered. And to get discovered, you want people Googling your very fancy, very pretty hotels. So these hotels, yes, they serve the purpose of giving tourists a bed to sleep in, but really they're marketing tools. They're showing people, oh, this is actually a nice place to visit. Oh, this actually has a swimming pool. Oh, this is actually in a nature reserve. And then you Google them and you go, oh, I can't afford any of that. I'll just stay in a short-term rental. So these hotels, they're just for marketing. And then the short-term rentals come in and they give the real stay.
That's a very impressive and expensive marketing budget. But yes, I completely, I see that. I get that. I can see myself doing that, frankly. Yeah, I understand that. I think, am I the target audience for this? I think the answer might be yes, actually.
I think all of us are. Most of us are.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Peden, Josh, thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your thoughts. The Megatrends are fantastic. Check them out. Skift.com/Megatrends, and we will see all of you next week.
This has been the Skift Podcast. Thank you for listening.